Thanks so much for hopping on. You've been such an amazing power user of Jellypod. I just wanted to little bit like hear your story. I'm Pearson. I'm the co-founder of Jellypod, and I would just love if you could just share a little bit about yourself and who you are, what you do, and what you're using Jellypod for.
Well, mine's an interesting use of Jellypod. I started out as a landscape photographer, fine art, and I needed to find a way that would be different and be able to market myself differently than everybody else.
Right.
So I was already doing podcasts with another company that I was running. I had three at one time. I've downgraded to just the photography. And so I use Jellypod as a podcast. It's called the Remembrance Record because it takes each one of the photos that are in my signature series, and later on I'm sure I'll get down to where my other photography, photos, but my signature series, especially right now, that gives the story behind it,
Oh, no
not
way.
just the story behind it, but the feelings. The perfect example is invite people to slow down and to take in the stillness and to remember what mattered before so that you can know what matters now.
Right.
It is just a different way of seeing photography. I don't just take pretty pictures. I take the memory and
Right.
I introduced that into my photography. So that way, perfect example with my customizations, the commissions and stuff.
Right.
Those are deliberately, there is a step-by-step process I use so that their memories are what's in that photography shoot. So that way, otherwise it's just my photography that I bring out that moves me. But the
Hmm.
commissions are the ones that bring out for other people's memories.
Right.
And so I hope that as I gain followers on my podcast, that will grow into an area that just helps
Totally.
to get my vision seen. I do speaking gigs with that and with that with podcast as well. So
Right.
it all integrates for me for my marketing as well as the understanding of why I do my photography.
Right.
So for an example, I take from my photography side, I take reverent vanishing landscapes of the Middle Tennessee area
No way.
because we're losing so much of our landscapes and what was and what built us up to who we are today, all for glass and progress. And I'm
Right.
not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that there is a spot for that to be remembered in a way that created us who we are today. And I don't want to
Totally.
lose that. And that's why I do what I do.
That's super interesting. I love photography. I mean, it's super cool how like you're pairing what you're doing at your existing work, and you know there are a number of photographers out there, but I wonder if you're the only one who's ever thought about taking their work and creating like an AI podcast from it, or just a podcast in general. I mean,
Well,
like, what gave
I'm
you
an
that
AI
idea?
specialist. I mean, I
Yeah, that's what
love
you
AI.
said.
I jumped in at the beginning. I went to DeVry University whenever it was not cool, so
Right.
whenever, the AI was not broad streamed. And so, that kind of thing has always been my cup of tea. But whenever I tried different platforms and saw how much work was actually in creating with someone like the script or someone else,
Right.
then it was, oh my word. I mean, yes, they're making it easier, but it was so much work and extra editing and took me days to get one podcast out. Whereas
Right.
Jellypod, you can literally do it within minutes.
Yeah, like that's actually an awesome thread to pull on because like what were you trying to accomplish? So you're obviously doing your podcast with your like with your photography, and like what were those challenges on those other platforms that, you know, forced you away from those?
Well, I
And then when you
created
found Jellypod.
my first podcast was built off of my caregiver for memoryloss.com program that I was
Hmm.
running as coaching. And I had to take a break from that because my husband passed away just this past September. And so that
Sorry.
was too soon. for me to go
Right.
into other people's stories and not fall apart myself. You have to
Totally.
heal yourself first before you can heal others.
Absolutely.
So I put that to the wayside for right now, went back to my photography because that's just my love. And I figured
Right.
if I was going to start over and I was going to put in all this effort into something, I might as well put it into what I wanted to go for anyway.
Hmm.
And so that's why I changed over to the back to the photography because I was a real estate photographer for a while. And then I got ill. I had a doctor messed up my neck. And whenever he did, now I'm on 2 Parkinson's medicines a day, stuff like that. So that way I don't have triggers in my neck. And because of that, I took what I understood from what I was doing with my podcast through Descript and through Hello Audio, you name them. I
Right.
was on, everything connected so that I could get it out as far as I could. And it was going great, but it was a job and a half just doing that alone, not to mention the coaching and all the other stuff. And I decided my time equity was more important and that if I was considered, a pretty extensive AI person, then I
Right.
needed to implement that. And so
Totally.
I was trying different platforms, but the one that stood out to me the best that created quality, and you guys are getting better and better by the day,
Thank you.
quality, the implementations of new things and the ideas that you're taking from your clients and how to implement those things and so far you guys are going to be way further along than any of those platforms, and I wouldn't even say 6 months to a year.
That means so much. I mean, it's just great to hear you say that. It means the world to me when people you come and say that how much you love the platform because obviously there are limitations as well that many people face like bugs, but hopefully, you know, like if you face an issue or other people face an issue or there's a feature that is not yet implemented, we are actively listening and everything that anyone tells us goes into our tracking. We see like who's wanting what bugs. Hopefully they're fixed within hours.
It's
And
been
it's
quick
just
because my first podcast was definitely a trial to kind of get some of the bugs out myself. And
right.
then, but you guys have fixed that abundantly by this last one. This last one was fabulous compared to any of the others.
Uh, it's so great to hear. I'm also just curious. I mean, like, was like, how did you find us? How did you find Jellypod? Because I mean, like, were you looking for like AI podcasting
I
platform? Like,
was. I
yeah,
was.
okay,
I mean, like
yeah,
I said, AI is my thing. So I was definitely looking for something that made more sense.
right.
Why do the 10 times more work whenever you can get it down into activity of, much sooner? And I was tweaking with different AIs to create what I needed to with what you guys do all in one platform. So
Gotcha.
even while I was looking for those that I was using to get each section done quicker, whenever I found you guys through looking through some AIs that I already had that
Hmm.
I hadn't gotten to yet. And whenever I found you guys, I was like, this is it. Never mind. So
Sweet.
I was
That's
able to
perfect.
drop like 6 different AIs and yeah, it was insane. So and some of those were free that cuz I'm one of those that are in the launches and stuff, so I catch them whenever they're cheaper.
Hmm.
And some of them are fantastic, but they don't do all that you do, and they aren't on top of it as fast as what you
Right.
do. So
Yeah,
that's why I stick with you guys.
that's awesome. I mean, and I would love to touch on that real quick too, because what was that thing that I mean made you just love besides like the platform in general, but like, was there like
Mhm.
one thing that was like unexpected surprise, something you just really loved that was like, this Jellypod's the thing for me. Like, what was that?
So for me, there was two.
Okay.
One was the implementation of you guys able to generate a quality transcript. And I
Mm,
mean quality. There's very few things I've ever had to tweak in there. It's
great.
quality coming off of, well, I have the program where you can get 5 things in there for your what you pull from. No, I just make sure that what I have to pull from is quality, and then
Totally.
that way mine just it's awesome. But that and the ability to generate the audio quickly, not 2 days
Hmm.
later,
Right.
quickly. And the audio is, I was able to put in my own voice. Now, whenever I
Right.
first started with you guys, that wasn't something we really had. It was kind of like wonky at first.
Right.
But like I said, within the second time that I came in to do another session, it was implemented, and I was like, oh, this is going to boost it so much more, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just an LM
Right.
Google thing. And because it was just that one, they can pull some stuff, but it's just not, that's more for like interviewing and kind of things where you want to interview them to interview you, which was
Totally.
the only good thing that I found off of that. So it sounds like it's from another podcast or whatever. Logistically, I'm not okay with that.
Right.
For other
Totally.
people, maybe. But for me, it was just the constant updating of quality every
Right.
week. Um, and that's key for me because AI gets better and better.
For
Things need
sure.
to be changed. Tech changes quickly. And you guys are on top of it. And that was the key thing for me because
Right.
I didn't need to be on a platform that was going to be outdated within, you know, 2 months.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. That's, I mean, we try to roll out, I don't know if you see them, but obviously we have our weekly Wednesday, which you joined. And before that, we send an email out to like all of our users like, hey, this is the features that we released this week. Some of them, sometimes weeks are lighter where like we have like one or two
But
small
you're
things.
still implementing what you
Right.
can, and so that's the
Exactly.
huge part right there.
And I'm curious because so you said so transcript quality, that's something that's absolutely at the end of the day, I mean, transcript quality, voice quality, those are, you know, the foundation. If those are
Yeah. The
bad,
other part
you
is the
know,
factor that I didn't have to get another platform to get this stuff out to the other
right,
platforms because it was easily implemented with Spotify and Apple. And then you also are constantly making it easier and easier for us to put on other platforms as well. So all those platforms and all those $7 this and $20 this a month, I don't have to pay because it's already implemented into Jellypod, which
right,
as someone that's neurodivergent and I'm living on disability right now. I'm trying to work my way off, but I mean, that's what I'm living on. That's huge because I
totally.
had to find it on a shoestring budget, and you guys have more than made that available.
Right. It's always super interesting because as like a podcast creation platform, you know, we focus on creation. Like that's like the thing. Like you come to us, you create your podcast, and you know, you go 0 to 1 is like you have your episode, but now you have one, you have your episode. Now I have to get it out into the world. How do I host that? And most people, if you create a podcast, I mean, you go to a hosting provider like Transistor or like, and you pay the $20 a month to get your podcast to
Right.
all the platforms. And like, well, if somebody wants to sit down in one session and wants to get their podcast onto Spotify, there's all these hoops. And you have to go and you buy this thing over here, and you have to buy your
Yeah,
editing software.
exactly.
Oh, right. Totally.
Because
I
before,
love it.
whenever I had the other podcast where I was doing the caregiver for memory loss, that one, just for the first episode, just for the intro episode, costed me total probably a little less than $75 with all of the
Wow.
platforms I had to pay. You had the Lisp and or whatever that was, and just all of them.
Totally.
You had to have each one wanted a different and another amount of money, and I was just to the point where I was like, is this sustainable
Totally.
for me?
Wow. Right.
And
It's not.
so yeah, so for me what I did is each one of the podcasts for the photography, I take it at a very slow pace. I make sure that it is now the first episode was a little too slow, but it's gotten much better as far as the pacing of what I speak versus what it was doing before. So now it goes into why I stopped at a side, you know, situation, a barn or whatever. Like the first one was the barn that still stands or something. It was about this one shot that I took, and it was right after a flood that we had here in Tennessee, and the water was almost up to the road, and then it went down, receding that next day, and I went back out there. And because of that, it was, I take most of my photography during whenever the sun's going up or coming down, better photography. And so anyway, I was doing that, and I came up on this beautiful barn. Old, most people would have called it weathered and needed to come down. But for me, I was able to see what it was for years and what it did and who would have walked in and out of that and what kind of lives they led. And that's what goes into my podcast, so that you really feel like you're there, and you have to slow things down, let those
Totally.
people take in that moment, and have a really, we're so focused on the next best thing, consistency of what comes next. We don't live in the now. We
Right.
don't live in what was before. And I think we've lost a part of ourselves because of that.
Right. Yeah, super interesting. That's super cool. I want to take a listen to that podcast. What's that one called? Like, what is your
Remembrance
podcast
record.
called?
Yeah.
Remembrance Records.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is that your favorite episode that you've created, the one with the barn, or is there
That's
another one that you really
the
like?
key tone of it, of the
Okay.
entire, because it's my main. I actually give that digital file away for that photography and the story behind
Whoa.
it
Oh wow.
for that photograph, because that's my marketing for uh my entire landscape
Totally.
photography is that one. And then I mean, you'll see other stuff on my website and stuff like that. That's my main one that I use as my go-to to show why I'm different.
Right.
Because most of
Totally.
it's black and white photography on my signature series, but there's also some colors. I do rural cityscapes. I do not do Nashville.
Right.
I will do the rural side of Nashville, of Middle Tennessee, and mainly because my husband was so sick for so long, I had to stay in the Middle Tennessee area.
Hmm.
But I couldn't go outside for too far because he was too sick. But yeah, that's where I've landed.
You might be one of very few people that use images as a source to their podcast. I look at the what people are using, and oftentimes it's PDFs or website links or things, and we do support images that you could add as a source, but I mean, very few people have a reason to, and so it's really interesting to hear your perspective as somebody taking a source image and other content around that too, but like uploading as a source an image. It's really interesting.
Yeah, so I also have a file of my business DNA, so that way if I'm working in, say, ChatGPT or something, I can easily just put that in there, and then that goes on for the entirety of however long that allows me to work, and then I go into another one, put the DNA back in there, and I'm
Right.
good to go. So, with that said, I just keep running record of those files in documents or whatever, in Google Doc or whatever. And then I can download that into as one of my references for Jellypod. And then that has everything I am, everything I do, everything that I'm about,
Right.
which is where the speaking gigs started coming back out. And because I was doing that before, but I'm doing it better now.
Right.
So those speaking gigs and the podcast are to build on the photography, the media, so that way I can use it as a way to get out there as
Totally.
different. I just didn't want to be another photographer,
Right. No,
just
no, for
another
sure.
photographer that is trying to take pretty pictures, because they're a dime a dozen.
Right.
And that's, I'm fighting right now with Voc Rehab, so trying to tell me that, well, you're just a photographer, they haven't looked at any of my stuff,
Right.
granted, any of my
Right.
stuff. But they told me 2 days ago that, well, photographers are a dime a dozen, and, it's going to take a lot to stand out. And I said, wait until you see my stuff and then you'll talk.
Totally.
So,
No, it's super.
because I do it totally different. There is no connection to what you see from others compared to what I
Right.
do.
No, yeah, super interesting. I love the story. It's so cool, and like your passion for photography, and doing using AI to do something that's pretty different. And I'm curious, before I know we're running out of time right here, but just digging into this, I would love to ask you, like, is there something that Jellypod doesn't do today that you would like to see it do or do better? Like, where do you think that we could best improve? I'd love to hear if you
The
know anything.
availability of doing something like this, where you actually are in video with, because we do, I mean, Jellypod does video, but that needs some tweaking to get better.
Right,
And the options grow endless once you get to that point. Because, I mean, right now, like you said the other day, we've got more hosts that are allowed in,
right,
but it would be awesome if we could also allow in actual, actual guests, not just the AI. Not to say that we couldn't add the AI in with that too, because they pull from your information, which would be great to get the questions asked by them, and then, your group of people talking on a platform like that. But yeah, I mean, I see this growing like huge, and that's the reason why I'm standing behind you guys.
right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, we've heard that too, like the co-AI human podcasting experience. It's definitely interesting and challenging,
It
technically too.
is, especially on
So,
on the development side, because
right,
I got that too, so I get
totally.
it.
Yeah,
But I
no,
mean, if you're willing to stick this out for as long as what I'm seeing the opportunity grow towards, you guys are going to have so much more growth just from what's to come.
totally. Well, thank you so much. And I mean, just as we wrap up, I have like a final like question. If you were to describe Jellypod in a single sentence, what would you say?
Easy to look professional for the beginner.
Cool.
And that
Yeah.
says it all right there.
Right.
Easy to look professional by the beginner.
Awesome. Oh, totally. Well, I mean, this is super interesting. I loved hearing your story, and we'll throw this on our YouTube channel. Maybe we get like 25, 50 views, but I'll edit this up and throw it up there. But I want to say thanks so much for just hopping on this call. I know your time's valuable, so it means a lot to us and your support. And hope to see you around at the weekly Wednesdays. Just it's always awesome just to have people commenting, because you just need somebody in there that's just like starts that conversation, breaks the barrier, like, hey, like, let me ask a question, and then we'll
Yeah, I
respond.
was
And so,
trying to get them going, but there wasn't
thank
many of
you.
them but one that was really wanting to, integrate with it. But
So,
it was great because you guys didn't just do what you guys wanted to cover. You did check in with what the questions were, what the options were that we were looking for, that kind of thing. And that's huge because a lot of platforms don't do that anymore.
right, totally. Well, just thanks so much. It's super nice meeting you, and we'll talk soon. So,
All right, you guys take care.
yeah, bye bye.